Welcome to the Addiction Solution Podcast. I'm Michelle Dunbar. Enjoy listening and watching as addiction experts Mark Sheeran and I cover controversial as well as helpful topics on addiction, how to move past it, and other related subjects. As two of the co-founders of the Freedom Model, Mark and I will give you a completely new perspective on the topics that matter to you. We will take to task the Recovery Society's lies and misinformation and replace them with facts, research, and the methods to move on from addiction struggles without 12-step meetings, rehabs, and the shackles of endless recovery. Let's escape the treatment and recovery trap together and learn to be free. Welcome to the truth. Hey everyone, Michelle here. I'm so excited to let you know about Freedom Model International membership. Get support as you deprogram from the 12 steps and the shackles of addiction recovery. For a low monthly membership fee, you get the Freedom Model online program, which includes our books, our audiobooks, workbooks, and all the additional lessons. You also get the Freedom Model for the Family online program as well. You will get a live members-only 2-hour question and answer webinar with Mark and myself the last Wednesday of every month. And each week, we're going to add a new video lesson. We call this the What We Learned This Week series. Lastly, we also have the Freedom Model International monthly newsletter, where we're going to tackle the current events and the latest research for you. All this for just $39.95 per month. You can stay a member for as long as you need, and you can suspend or cancel your subscription whenever you're ready. Go to online.thefreedommodel.org to sign up today.
Hey, everyone.
Hi. Welcome to another episode of the Addiction Solution Podcast. I'm Michelle Dunbar.
And I'm Mark Sheeran.
And we're going to talk about that having to hit rock bottom is total crap. People don't have to do that. That is another myth. So we're going to dispel that myth, and also the myths surrounding that you can't get sober for someone else, and like that there are limited reasons why, in order to be successful, why you get sober.
Yeah. So like the techniques to get sober are limited, that there's things that
aren't going to work for you.
Yeah. So let's start with, what was the first one?
Rock bottom is bullshit.
Yeah. Rock bottom is bullshit. So the question is, what is rock bottom? Because that's such a subjective thing. So the idea is that somehow you're, somebody will say to you, listen, you haven't hit rock bottom and you're struggling because of that.
Right. Because you didn't have enough negative consequences. I mean, that's what rock bottom is, right? It's the piling on of negative consequences. And later on, after Mark talks, I want to talk about where I think that emanates from, that whole idea, but go ahead.
Yeah. So anything that is cost or consequence based, right? Decision-making that is consequence based is against fundamental human nature of how we're motivated as people. So if you're motivated to change your life, it has to be based on something that is attractive. And so when you focus on costs like AA does, where it tells you to keep it green, keep it in the forefront of your mind, how bad it was, always remember your last drunk because you haven't had it yet.
Right.
Or you haven't had it yet. Those sorts of ideas are literally counter to how humans change their lives or navigate or evolve. We don't evolve based on deterrence. And we have a chapter in our book, The Freedom Model, that talks about motivators versus deterrence. We also have a chapter on the positive drive principle, which covers this as well. Nobody is going to permanently change their life based on a cost that they were willing to pay. And so fundamentally, first of all, you have to understand that any consequences that you get from drinking and drugging really weren't unexpected consequences most of the time. They're costs that we're willing to pay at the time.
Yeah, risks we're willing to take, for sure.
That's right. So, but on the front end of that there's a benefit to be had, or a perceived benefit to be had, in the drinking or drugging habit. And so telling somebody that they have to concentrate on costs and consequences and pain and hitting rock bottom, and make sure that it's really painful so that it deters them from using, is really a small factor in the process of change. I'm not saying that costs don't factor in.
Right, of course.
Certainly the pain of drinking and drugging and those costs and consequences can help make some decisions, or maybe change the trajectory of your current use, but it's not going to motivate you to change. There's a very big difference between being deterred, right? Being knocked off course, and being motivated to move to a new horizon.
Right. So the treatment industry takes this to a whole new level. This idea of being motivated by the fear of consequences. And I can remember being in a meeting, and one of my friends at the meetings was a counselor, and I was talking about, well, that hasn't happened to me. That hasn't happened to me. And they're like, that's not yet.
Oh yeah, the not yet.
It's not yet. Well, you just go out and try some controlled drinking and see how that goes for you.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's this setup. It's this setup. Let's see how low you can go. The whole rock bottom idea, it really just kind of comes from, well, when somebody's life gets too unacceptable for them, that's when they change. And I'm, for some people, that's how it starts. But then there are just people that are like, you know what? This is boring and I don't want to do this anymore. Or, or you fall in love and you want to be a better person for that person that you fall in love with. That happens all the time.
Mhm.
Or you have a
Mhm.
baby and all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, I got to be a mom. Now, just because there are people that don't change when those huge major life events happen, it just means that those people weren't positively motivated by those life-changing events.
Right. And just because you don't agree with their choice to not stop for their kids or whatever it might be, or their marriage, doesn't mean that they didn't choose that
Right.
unfortunate, sort of pattern
Yeah.
in their life, because they saw a perceived benefit on something else, on the drinking and drugging that was greater to them than the marriage or the baby. And it's usually not black and white like that either. There's
No, not
usually
at
so
all.
many different factors in people's lives, but people on the outside will pick, well, you drink and drug, and your kids pay the price for that. That may be true, but there are many factors in that person's life as to why they drink and drug that maybe they're not discussing or being open about. The perceived benefits of cocaine or crack or drinking or heroin or whatever it might be, are so great to that person, and they're perceived benefits. They may not
That's
even be
right.
getting the benefits, but they've been so marketed to. These people have been so marketed to, and they believe the marketing, they believe the hype to such a dramatic degree that it is worth the price they're paying.
Yeah.
And that is motivation. That's motivation to use.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, one of the things I had a couple people talking in this discussion in our group about, well, what about the people that didn't develop a serious alcohol problem until they were middle-aged, right? We see this all the
Remember that.
time where, you might have been kind of a partier when you were in college, but then you got, you fell in love, you got married, you started a career, you had all these things going for you that were positively motivating you in the direction not to be a party animal anymore. That happens to a lot of people.
Yep.
You get kind of to 40s, in some cases it's a little bit later, early 50s, and the blush is off the rose, so to speak. Like life just kind of, maybe you're in a bad marriage, maybe your kids have grown up and left, maybe your career,
or maybe you're even successful.
Yeah,
right?
successful, your career, you've achieved everything you've wanted,
and you're bored.
Yep, and you're bored, and life is comfortable. In some cases, it's just a matter that life is comfortable and everything's good. And you want some excitement in your life. There are all these reasons. And so if you have this, if you have this belief system about alcohol being something that can make your life more exciting, or cocaine or whatever it is, or something that can help you to relax when you're stressed out, and then you combine it with, maybe you had some really fun, awesome experiences when you were younger that were totally magical with alcohol, you might go looking for that.
Right. Now when we talk about being really magical like that, when you're young, you can believe in the sort of the
all kinds of magic. We all believed in Santa Claus, didn't we?
right. That's exactly right. So alcohol when you're younger can be that magical elixir. But here's what's interesting: when you have somebody that starts drinking at 50 and never partied, they might also find it magical because it's new.
Because it's a new experience. That's right.
So when you have the newness coupled with the marketing that you've had for 50 years in Western culture, that this powerful elixir, right, is going to make your stress go away or make your anxiety less or
make you feel younger and
prettier. And
yeah, exactly.
yeah. Or sometimes people drink because they feel like they've earned the right to a mini vacation, and it becomes their daily vacation or a binge vacation. So there's different ways that people drink and drug. So the point is, sometimes there's all kinds of drinking or drugging habits that happen at various ages for various reasons. But in none of those situations do you have to, if you want to change it, do you have to make it painful? We have an example in the book where we say, if you're going to change a job, nobody goes up to their boss and says, can you please abuse me and punish me so that I can make the decision to change and leave this job? That would be really crazy.
Yeah.
But yet that's what the Recovery Society is constantly telling you to do. Please, boss, punish me. Make it so that I hate my job so much that I'll leave it. Can you see in that example how deterrents don't work? Wouldn't you leave the job if you found something better, a better job? That's the example we give in the book. And I think that's true. There's no doubt that sometimes a job is bad enough that you might leave, but you really don't leave until you got something better. And something better might be just leaving.
Yes.
And getting on unemployment. It might be finding a new job. The point is, as soon as you make the decision to change your life in any way or capacity, it's because you see benefit in the change, not because of the deterrent.
Now, that's right. That's exactly right. Now, even when you're highly motivated to change, okay, say you had got this better offer for a new job, but it's with a totally new company. It's a different position. It may be, it's the unknown. There's gonna be trepidation. There's gonna be a certain amount of, oh my God, is this gonna be better or not?
Fear, anxiety.
Yeah. So even when you have all this where it looks like I'm moving in a really positive direction, there's going to be that habit. Well, what will my life look like when I change this job? What will my life look like when I don't have alcohol in it every day?
That's right. So there's a certain benefit in the security of the status quo.
Yeah.
So sometimes we're drinking and drugging, looking at the perceived benefits of that process, of that habit. And then something really bad does happen. It's a cost you're willing to pay. And all of a sudden it's a big cost, right?
Yeah.
So you have this moment of deterrence. Maybe it's a month where you're losing your wife, or you get a DUI, or there's some really cataclysmic event that shakes you and deters you for a little while. But then there's something weird that happens. And that is, our positive drive will kick in. And because humans are motivated by the pursuit of happiness, if we don't fill in that sort of vacuum that alcohol once filled, you're going to go back to the alcohol because you see benefit in it. So the key to this whole thing is challenging the perceived benefits. We see it all the time on the groups, right?
Yeah.
On the Facebook groups and these different seminars.
When people are waffling.
Yes.
Waffling, they put together, they may not just put together a period of abstinence, but sometimes they put together a period of really good, moderate drinking. And then they, they drink more than they want in a particular drinking event on a night. And the next day they're like throwing in the towel, like, see, I'm one of those people that can't drink like other people. That's and right. It's like, no, for that evening, you changed your mind. You were like, no, I'm going to get drunk.
But you got drunk based on the perceived benefit, the perception in your mind that alcohol, drug, whatever it might be, has some real benefit to you, whether it's escapism, whether it causes you to get rid of your depression, whether it you feel like it gets rid of boredom, it helps you sleep. There's all these things.
Or maybe you just like the feeling. You liked, you wanted to feel differently in your brain for a little while, and so the key to that is when something like that happens, it's like, oh, it's no different than if you know, have a good diet and one day you go off the diet. I mean, it's if you what happens is because of the recovery culture, people you heap onto yourself all these self-doubts, all this you know, this negative self-talk that I'm broken, clearly I can't drink like other people. You attach so much meaning to it that's meaningless, that's not real, that's made up.
That's important.
You know, that instead of just being like, okay, I had fun. You know, I mean, nothing bad happened. I mean, if you look at it, at the reality for what it is, sorry, I just hit my microphone. If you look at the reality for what it is, um, you're just trying to figure out. Okay, I wanted to make sure our microphones were working.
Yeah.
Um,
I'll check the volume. Go ahead.
yeah, you're just trying to figure out what you want. Was that something that I wanted? Was it fun? How much fun was it? It doesn't have, don't attach all this other meaning to that one isolated event.
Yeah. So if you think that there's all these benefits, one of the things when you're waffling, and I'm going to give another example. A good metaphor is a really bad relationship. And that's one of the most painful, draining things that you can go through as a human being when you stay in a relationship that is, you get slices of love coupled with a tremendous amount of pain and dissatisfaction.
Yep.
But because our positive drive principle is so profound within us, our desire to be happier, we will hang on to scraps of love if that's what we feel we are worth.
Yep.
And we do the same exact thing with drinking and drugging. We have a relationship with the drug that's based on mythology. We have actually personified or made human drugs. We talk about them as if there's a battle, as if they have motivation to kill you and control you and addict you. And because we talk about it that way, we develop relationships with these substances.
That's for sure.
And so when we develop this love-hate relationship, it is like a bad marriage. And that is, we get a little high on the front end and then it turns into a disaster. But as long as we are motivated by happiness, which is inherent, it's immutable, you can't stop yourself from desiring happier life. As long as you desire that happier life, I guarantee you will go back to the drug if you don't see a better option. Or if you don't challenge the benefit and devalue the drug. I spend 4 weeks with people, 4 solid weeks, devaluing the mythology of the powers and personification of drugs. And when that process is finished, the person is left with one thing, and that is the drug has a physical sensation that you may find pleasurable and maybe a mild fantasy that you might like in moderate use. And most people, to be honest, that come here abstain. 62.5% abstain for the rest of their lives because they're like, you know what? I think I'm done with this. I'm ready to move on.
Yeah. It doesn't hold the value it once did for me. When Mark was talking, I was thinking about, you know, personifying the substance. I can remember saying to someone when I was drinking every day and I would drink all day long, and then I would go by myself to this bar that was down the street from my house, and I would sit there. And I can remember saying to someone that alcohol was the only thing I could rely on. It was, you know, it was the only thing that never let me down, which, you know, it's all that you think that way. It's your best friend. It's your confidant. It's, you know, you personify it. And so when you're in it, and then you go to AA and it's still personified.
Well, it's not only personified, it's built up massively.
Bigger.
Massively. That it's cunning, baffling, and powerful.
Yeah.
You know, it's literally none of those things.
None.
It is only that which you make it in your mind because you're the only one home.
Yeah.
There is no mind in the drug. So how could it be powerful? It doesn't have the capacity to saturate your brain tissue and make you think differently, contrary to what you might believe. If you believe that, you're deep in the mythology, deep.
Yeah.
Deep. And that's really problematic. And you're going to desire it because if you think that a drug can go into your brain tissue and change the content of your thoughts or lower your inhibitions or make you sexier or make you more creative, I know I'm hitting buttons here because
Mhm.
nearly everybody in the audience thinks that shit.
Yeah.
Because I did too. She did too. And but objectively, scientifically, it does none of those things. What
For
does
anyone.
for anyone at any point, the drug does not change the content of the human mind. So if you don't believe me, read the book, read the research, The Freedom Model for Addictions. It's all there for you. So we spent 32 years parsing this out so that you can devalue the drug and basically make it the drug itself, which is a substance that tickles the body in certain ways that you may find pleasurable physically, that you then imbue with magic. And the magic is the problem.
Yeah.
It's a huge problem because you build value, deep, abiding love into a drug that can't give it back to you.
You know, a lot of most of the people that we work with that come here to the retreat, the people that need the retreat are in most cases at a point in their lives where they just feel really really helpless and
Yeah, they
hopeless,
need a reset.
and they need a hard reset. And what we find is they've gotten to that point where they know it's not making them as happy as they could be. They feel lost, but a lot of but a lot of them aren't like this whole rock bottom idea.
Yes.
You know, they're not like their lives, they haven't thrown their whole lives away. Most people don't do that.
Yeah, it's actually, so what is a definitive rock bottom is death, right?
Right.
We can,
That's right.
so how close do you want to get to the cliff's edge based on somebody who really doesn't know you, a sponsor, a therapist,
Yeah.
who says you need to hit rock bottom?
Yeah. You just didn't get low enough.
Yeah. I mean, but we need to go back to how humans are motivated. Do you really want to destroy your life so that you make a better decision, that's somehow going to motivate you to change? Has it worked so far? I mean, I might point out, how bad does shit have to get? I believed all that stuff. And then I got into a car accident and I almost killed two of my buddies. And that's the advice that got me there.
Right.
I didn't have to do that. I probably could have stopped when I was 14 years old.
Right. I can remember I was in this group of women, and we were at a diner after a meeting, and there was
the old diner.
Oh gosh. And one of the women that was a close friend of mine at the time, this woman, I was new, and she had a little kid, and the one woman said to her, "We can't get sober for your child." And I'm sitting there and I'm like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And then I asked her afterwards, because she'd been in there longer than I had. And I'm like, that sounds like a perfectly great reason to want to change your life.
Yeah.
And she, oh no, she has to do it for her. And I thought that's a bunch of shit. And it is, because whatever, you have to look for something. If I'm going to be happier being a good mom, and being a good mom to me means that I'm not getting drunk at 3:00 in the afternoon, that's a damn good reason to want to change my life and stop. Now,
it's probably the number one reason for heavy users that are female and male.
Yes,
is
that I
kids.
wanted. Yeah,
I would say kids is probably, and career. Kids and career.
I mean, I can remember thinking, I grew up with a heavy drinking parent, and it was most of the time it's pretty awful. And I can remember thinking, there's no way that I'll have kids while I'm drinking like this. I mean, I would never do that. And there's no way I'm going to treat my spouse the way my mother was treated. I want, that cycle was ending with me. I didn't want any of that. And I didn't have any of that. I mean, it was when I decided I wanted to change, it was because I wasn't building the life that would make me happy.
Yeah. Yeah. So the key to this, if you're catching on, the key to all of this decision making and change, when it comes to substance use, is devaluing the drug first.
Yeah.
Because as long as it's a shiny object in your mind, as long as it's that big shiny disco ball saying, oh, it is the answer to all of my mental ills and my stresses, and I self-medicate. If you believe that, there isn't a damn thing somebody's going to do to change it.
Yeah. If you think you need it for this and that, the other thing, if you think you need it in your life for happiness, for even if it's a tiny little sliver of it that only you only seem to feel after the second or third drink,
Yeah, that's a common one.
which is a lot of people would admit that to me. I start to feel, well, we do the binge construct. They like, oh, I feel that magic. Sometimes you feel the magic when you're fixing your drink, right? The ritual
Or
of it.
going to get your heroin or
Yeah,
cocaine.
exactly.
You haven't even put it in your body and you already feel relief.
Yep.
It's hilarious.
It's just because you're going to do something that you enjoy doing.
Yeah.
But then the remorse usually sets in pretty quickly. It becomes more and more fleeting, and it's just this cycle of seeking relief, feeling it for a minute, and then the process of self-deprecation and just self-flogging
and chasing the fantasy that the drug is going to fix you
Yep.
and fix your emotional state, and it doesn't.
Nope.
Here's what happens is when people become disillusioned and suddenly somewhere in their drinking or drugging career, the benefit of the fantasy that you had when you were 15 or 50 or whenever you started getting high gets shorter and shorter. The fantasy that you have in your mind about it gets shorter, and suddenly reality becomes a part of the drinking or drugging process in a given binge. Then you find that it's about 1 or 2% fun and fantasy, and about 90% chasing desperately this youthful fantasy that you used to have while you'd get wasted. And the problem is that with wisdom, we start to see alcohol and drugs within our bodies for what they are, which is a physical sensation.
Yep.
And your mind supersedes the physical buzz. It starts to observe, the human mind starts to observe all these things happening in the body. And it says, this isn't really working. Oh, and by the way, you still have bills. You still have kids to take care of. You still have to figure out what you're going to do about that legal obligation. And all that stress comes back, even though you're saturated with alcohol or drugs.
Yes. If we're honest, anybody that's being honest knows that all of that stress, all of those worries are there. They're still there when you're intoxicated.
That's right. That's right. So so the question then becomes, all right, they're telling you you can't change for your kids, so you shouldn't have positive motivation. What you should do is delve deeper into how shitty this experience is. But the only thing that does is makes the beginning of the high look more attractive, because you're banking on, hey, I get this little fantasy.
Yes.
I get this little section of relief. And what that becomes is a desperate, vicious cycle. And it's all based on misinformation. The misinformation is that the drugs can actually change the content of your mind, and they can't.
Right.
So we have to hit it at the root of the problem, which is this strange idea we have in Western culture that drugs are magical, mental, and emotional, which are products of our mind, medicinal agents, and they're not.
So I want to just hit quickly before we're done. There was somebody that wrote it was just today on the group about other non-drug, non-alcohol related addictions, and when you get caught up thinking, and this is why the freedom model can help with these other things. If that's your problem, if your problem is gambling or sex or shopping or something like that, and you're talking to some kind of addiction specialist who's telling you about dopamine and all of these other things, what you're doing is you're in fantasy land, because you're acting like you're not in control. You're always in control. You're always in control. Nobody does any of these activities incessantly until they're dead.
And they don't do any of these activities without thought being involved.
Exactly.
There's if you had no mind or thoughts, you wouldn't be alive, right? Your body would simply go limp. You couldn't pick up a cup of coffee. You couldn't do anything. So this idea that somehow you're engaging in all of these human processes without any control, if you have a lack of control, what that says is that you would be mindlessly like a zombie behaving haphazardly, because a loss of control, that's what it means.
That's what it means.
You can't,
there's not a little bit.
Yeah, that's it. You can't have a little bit of control, but a loss of control. Loss of control means you're out of control. So you would be literally talking nonsensically. You would have no control over your body. You might have a convulsion on the floor. I mean, that's literally what loss of control means. So you can't have a loss of control to go get crack or to go to the refrigerator or to watch porn and masturbate. You can't have all these processes happening in your mind without volition, without desire, without knowing this is what I want.
This is what I want. And if I do it to the exclusion of other things in my life, I mean, there are a whole lot of things that you do. And I want you to look at all of this repertoire of things that you enjoy, right? Whatever they are, there's probably a whole lot of things that you used to enjoy that you didn't do it to excess. You didn't do it. Why not? So the key is to figure out, why am I doing this activity?
And that is, what are the perceived benefits?
Exactly.
And we're so afraid to look at benefits because we've been trained not to look at them. We've been trained to look at deterrence, consequences, pain, and we ignore. The treatment industry has been so good at their marketing. We ignore the problem-solving process of, yeah, I like
this activity.
Yeah, I find value in it. And then when you do that, you will suddenly realize that the benefits are very small.
Right. You've built them up. You've put them on this pedestal that you can't get these benefits that you think you're getting from anything else.
That's right.
And it's not real.
That's
it's not true.
That's all treatment and substance use marketing and treatment and recovery marketing. And they wouldn't have a job, if you suddenly realize that you can simply in your mind go, maybe this drug isn't doing what I think it's doing, and let me get educated about that. You don't need a rehab.
Or maybe this activity that I love so much, I would love it actually more if I made it something that wasn't all consuming in my life.
Right.
I mean, I go back to, there are a lot of different foods people love to eat. You don't, when you have chocolate cake, you don't have the whole cake. Right. You have a piece of cake. Now somebody's gonna say, oh, food addicts would have the whole cake. They'd have the whole cake because they think they want it. They think they'd be happier having a whole cake than having one piece.
Yeah, it's not some biologic thing that's happening that's driving them. It's simply they see value in having the cake, and that's okay.
And it's okay. That's the other part of this. You are not bad or immoral or weak because you like these activities and you like to do them to the extent that you like to do them. That whole thing, that whole label that I'm broken. And then you look for all these underlying reasons why you're broken. And it's like, no, you're human. Humans, pleasure is subjective and we all get derived pleasures from different things. It doesn't make us bad or good or weak-willed. It just means that sometimes we have what Mark calls logical errors, where we think if a little of this makes me feel really good, then a lot is going to solve my ills.
That's right. And let me delve into that fantasy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So go ahead.
No, go.
You were going to tie it up. So.
I know. I want you to.
Okay. So it's really important that you hit this from a bunch of different angles. We covered a lot of ground here. I think what's important to know is that if you want to know more about this and you want to devalue the drug, right, which is the linchpin, we have a program that is super affordable. You can get a membership with Freedom Model International for $39.95 a month. And Michelle and I teach you exactly how to do that. And I don't know how many videos. There's over 80 videos total within that course. And they're tutorials that we give
we're adding more videos every week. We do new video lessons each week called What Have We Learned This Week?
Yeah, I'll be giving one tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, it'll be posted next week.
But to get those, you have to be a member. And there's also, so you have the Freedom Model online program, you have the Freedom Model for the Family online program, you have all our books, our audio books, the workbooks, all kinds of ancillary stuff. We have a 2-hour live Q&A where you can ask us questions live.
I want to talk about that for just a minute because in our the one we do it the last Wednesday of the month. So this month it'll be May 25th from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. So if you want to talk to us live, the both of us together, set your alarm, set your clock,
Yeah.
make sure you have the time to do that. We only had 2 people log in, which it was brand new. I think people didn't know what to expect. It was a little
Yeah.
bit intimidating, right? But we ended up giving to each of these people a 40-minute class with us.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, and so that's what it is like. And so it was 40 minutes for one person and 40 minutes for another person. And I mean, and we were also training people at the same time. So it was really a great, it's just such a great value.
Yeah, it is. It is. So you go to online.thefreedommodel.org. And if you need a hard reset, give Danny Wyke a call at 888-424-2626, and he'll tell you about the retreat. We've been running the St. Jude retreat now for 32 years, and we've helped over 25,000 people move past this problem.
He'll also give you the option to do the Freedom Model private instruction program, which is you basically one-on-one classes with a certified Freedom Model instructor.
Yep.
And I mean, it's on your schedule. There's Zoom. It's over Zoom primarily. The classes range from 60 to 90 minutes. Typically, it takes people about 12 classes to complete the program. You're going through the book, but you're also getting the additional lessons, which are the binge construct and life movements. And we will work at your pace because it's private. So whether it takes you 12 classes or 15 classes or 20 classes, as long as you're making some consistent progress, we'll keep going until it's done.
Right.
So that's what that investment, that's what that's for. Is
it usually takes people 10 to 12 classes though, to completely revolutionize their life.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, all right. So remember 888-424-2626. If you want to contact us, if you're looking to get a membership, it's online.thefreedommodel.org. And thanks everyone. We'll see you next week.
All right, everybody. Take care.